Hey everyone, I'm Zach from Obscure Cartoons and Obscured Gaming. The Legend of Zelda is one of my favorite Nintendo series of all times, and I have to get my hands on every game that comes out, and I've been impatiently waiting for the sequel of Breath of the Wild to be released, or any information about it at all. And then it happened. It finally happened!
It came! It finally came! The big one.
So Nintendo dropped the new Breath of the Wild trailer, and good god, there's so much going on in just a small amount of time in this trailer. And I'll leave most of the Breath of the Wild theorists to overanalyze and discuss all the other details. However, there were a few scenes in particular in this trailer that really stood out to me that gave me my own theories about the sequel and the possibilities. So I guess it's time for me to dip my feet into the Zelda theory community and submit my first two theories for this long-awaited sequel to one of my favorite Nintendo IPs of all time. But before I jump into the theories, let's take another look at the trailer. So I have two theories at the moment. My first theory is a bit of a stretch, however, it inspired my second theory, which I feel holds more ground. Keep in mind, I don't keep up with all Zelda theories, so if this theory has already been discussed, then I apologize. Did anyone get Skyward Sword vibes with this scene? In Skyward Sword, Link does the same thing and falls out of the sky, then a Loftwing comes right at the nick of time, preventing him from falling to his death. But what made this really stand out to me was the fact that Nintendo is re-releasing Skyward Sword on the Switch, and we all know that Nintendo doesn't just do anything for no reason. They love throwing out little hints and clues, but one thing that's for certain is how much they care about The Legend of Zelda. This is one of their most iconic IPs of all time, and is one of the few that can go against Mario. What if this scene is an homage to Skyward Sword, and either the hero or lore from Skyward Sword is intertwined or somehow comes into play with the new sequel? Skyward Sword takes first place on the Zelda timeline, and is the start to everything. So to implement a previous Link story with another Link isn't out of the realm of possibilities, because we've seen it before in Twilight Princess, where the hero of time goes by the name Ancient Hero trains the hero of Twilight. Breath of the Wild seemed like a story ender when playing it, and possibly the end of Ganon and Demise's curse, once and for all. Nintendo can always play with the timeline and add in between stories to both keep the franchise going as well as telling a new story. With all the countless references to the past events that took place in Hyrule, and this possibly being the finale. Not saying that it is, but it is possible. It would make a lot of sense to go back to the beginning where it all took place, either by the hero of the wild going back in time and receiving help from the lore from the hero of skies, the first Link ever. Time travel nor world traveling isn't a long stretch for the Zelda universe, as we've seen it countless times throughout previous titles. Now this theory isn't the one that I'm leaning on the most, but it is a possibility and would still be neat to see despite my feelings towards Skyward Sword. But I'm also biased and will look past its flaws due to the fact that it's Zelda. I'm not sorry. Remember how I said it's not a stretch for Nintendo to let two different Links meet each other, like in Twilight Princess? Now, here's where I think it gets juicy. My second theory is, what if this magical glowing hand that has held Ganondorf frozen in agony for God knows how long, that we eventually see Link carrying later on, is actually the hero of Twilight? We see that Ganondorf has a wound in his chest, the same spot as the Ganondorf in Twilight Princess. And this Ganondorf was a complete badass, who just didn't know when to die. And yes, I know we all remember that scene at the end where, spoiler alert, Zant does that weird neck pop thing and we see Ganondorf die standing up like a complete badass that he is. The dude dies standing up! Okay, so what does this mean and why the glowing hand thing? Twilight Princess is the last time that we see Ganondorf. All the other Ganons were just different variations of botched up Ganons that weren't summoned correctly. And this is an old Ganondorf. He's mummified and leaking with more malice than a today's Karen. I mean, look at the anger on this dude's face. A lot of people have theorized that this hand represents something related to the Zonai tribe. Yet we still can't fully confirm this theory. And it's possible that the Zonai will either have something to do with this sequel, or Nintendo will throw out more lore about them and they're just dead and we're overanalyzing a bunch of dead people. May they rest in peace. What if this hand is the hero of Twilight's hand? A power that was given to him by Midna, or some form of Twilight powers, handed down to the hero of Twilight, and is his responsibility to keep Ganondorf sealed, or until a new hero worthy to inherit this new power comes along. We see a different looking Link here, and it could be argued that this is just a Zonai, or a Zonai costume that Link can wear in game. But then again, we don't even know for certain if the Zonai are even a thing in this. But the Zonai remains are linked to Faron Woods, which in Twilight Princess is close to Ordon Village, which is where the hero of Twilight resides. And we believe the Zonai worship the water spirit based on what we see around the Spring of Courage in Breath of the Wild. Spring of Courage. Spring of Courage. Who else is linked to Courage? Link is the only Hylian who is known for obtaining the Triforce of Courage. And it's possible that the hero Twilight and his people in his region of Hyrule started the Zonai tribe with the help of the Twilight and their magic, but let me just be blunt and get to the point. I believe what most people may call the Zonai Link is the hero of Twilight, or his essence living within the arm and awakens within the hero of the wild. Kind of like in Majora's Mask when young Link puts on the fierce deity's mask, which held the soul of a great warrior capable of taking down Majora's Mask. Together, the two Links, and possibly other Links as well, have to work together, combine their strengths and souls to aid this Link to perhaps, once and for all, put an end to the Demon King and demise his curse. Again, I have no idea if this theory has already been theorized or not, as I try to stay away from most theories to try not to copy or cloud my speculations of this new Zelda game. But if this was the case, and we had the combination of previous Links combined into one, then we truly have a legendary hero on our hands here. And that's something I personally would love to see. I'm Zach, and I'm out.